Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I decided to put together this last minute tutorial on how to create the ultimate sexy smoky eye to go with that sexy Halloween costume you'll be wearing this year. So if you're interested and want to see how I create this look, keep on watching. In order to keep your makeup on all night, you're going to want to start by priming your face. I'm using the NARS Oil-Free Pore Refining Primer. I find that it works well with almost every single foundation, and it really does keep your makeup on all night. For a super glowy complexion, I'm using the Kogan Aqua foundation, and I'm mixing shades 123 and 143 together to customize my color. I'm applying it to my face with that concealer brush just so I don't waste any of that product that I mixed it with. And then I'm going to go ahead and smooth it out with my fingers and then blend it out with a beauty blender. For a concealer and a highlight, I'm using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shades Honey and Vanilla. I'm using Honey first to cover up any dark circles, so I'm applying it to the inner corner of my eyes with the applicator. And then I'm just going to pat it in with a beauty blender because I don't want it to move from that area, but you can also use your fingers for this step. And then once I've blended in the correcting shade, I'm going in with Vanilla for a highlight. And I'm using quite a bit, but that's because I'm going to use the Beauty Blender to soak up any excess product. And I'm going to apply it to the under eyes, the forehead, and chin. And I'm also going to apply that Honey Concealer around my nose to cover up any redness that I tend to get in that area. Because this is quite a bit of product, I'm going to be using the baking method to set this highlight and concealer. I'm going to be using the Tarte Amazonian Clay Smooth Operator Setting Powder, and with a damp beauty blender, I'm going to pack it on underneath my eyes to prevent any creasing and then apply a little bit of that powder to my forehead and chin as well. Then with the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in Chocolate, I'm just going to fill in my brows really quickly using Delium brush number 735. To prime my eyes, I'm using the Laura Mercier Eye Basics Eyeshadow Primer in Cotton. I'm applying 2 little dots to my eyelids and then blending it out with my fingers. For a super dark and sultry smoky eye, I'm going to apply the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Black Bean really close to my lash line and then blend it out with Sigma Brush E39. This smoky eye is going to require a lot of layering of various eyeshadows, so to make the blending really easy, I'm going to apply some of the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in Light Plus to my lids so that when we go back to blend the shadows, it makes it super easy. The first shadow I'm going to be applying is Makeup Geek's Corrupt Eyeshadow, and I'm going to be packing that on to the lid right on top of the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil using Smith Brush 247. As you guys can tell, I'm going to be working with really dark eyeshadows, so I'm going to be leaving that powder on underneath my eyes the entire time until I'm done applying shadow. The next color I'm going in with is Desert Sands by Makeup Geek, and I'm applying that to my crease using Smith Brush 232. Next, I'm going to be using one of the new Makeup Geek matte eyeshadows, and that's Cherry Cola, and I'm going to be applying it to my crease using Smith Brush 230. I just absolutely love the way this color blends into the Desert Sands color. It almost gives it a really grungy look, but still sexy at the same time, of course. This next eyeshadow is totally optional because it is really similar in color to Cherry Cola. This is Bitten by Makeup Geek. I just have an obsession with this eyeshadow, so I wanted to incorporate it into the look somehow, some way. And now I'm just blending out these shadows using a Sigma E40 brush. And because of all that blending, you might have lost some of the intensity on the lid, so I'm reapplying Makeup Geek's Corrupt Eyeshadow to the lid to just darken it up. Now that I'm done applying shadow to my lids, I'm going to dust off that powder using Anastasia brush A23. This brush is meant to be used with her illuminators, but I absolutely love it for dusting off powder or fallout because of how soft it is. Going back in with the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil, I'm going to apply it to the lower lash line and then blend it out with Sigma Brush E39. This is just going to make sure that the rim of the eye is the absolute darkest. Using Desert Sands, the color that is currently in the crease, I'm going to apply it to the lower lash line using Smith Brush 230, and I'm also going to drag it back up into the crease to make sure that the smoky eye is connected all the way around. Using Corrupt, the black eyeshadow, I'm going to pack it on right up against the lower lash line using Morphe brush M333. And again, using the color Cherry Cola, I'm going to apply it to the lower lash line using that same Smith 230 brush and also drag it back up into the crease. Like I mentioned earlier, this look is just a lot of layering and blending of multiple colors. To further diffuse and smoke out the outer edges of the shadow into the rest of the skin, I'm going to be using the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in Light Plus and a clean Sigma E40 brush to just buff it out into the skin. This next part is what I believe really made the eyes pop. I'm going to be using Makeup Geek's Foiled Eyeshadow in Charmed, and I'm going to pack that on to the center of the lid right above the black eyeshadow using Smith Brush 253. Using a Sigma E40 brush, you're just going to lightly diffuse the edges of that shadow into the black shadow. Make sure you're not blending too aggressively because you want to maintain the intensity of that sparkly shadow in the center of the lid. I'm also going to be using that same eyeshadow as a tear duct highlight and blending it out with a Sigma E45 brush. To fill in the upper and lower waterline, I'm going to be using the Ico Making Eyes Gel Liner in Pitch Black. If you find that this makes the look a little too dark for you, you can feel free to skip applying liner to the lower waterline, but still do it to the upper waterline to tightline and make the base of your lashes look fuller. I'm going to be applying a light coat of Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara because I am going to be popping on a pair of Flutter Dimensional lashes. And I did this step off camera to save us some time. Next, I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion in the shade 20M and Smith Brush 118 to do some bronzering, aka bronzing and contouring. So I'm adding some definition to my bone structure at the same time that I'm warming up the skin. To contour the nose, switch over to a smaller brush. I'm using the Morphe M441 brush. To highlight the high points of the face, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Illuminator in So Hollywood, and I'm applying it using that same Smith 118 brush. For smaller areas of the face, like the tip of the nose and Cupid's bow, I'm using my fingers. For blush, I'm using Armani Cheek Fabric in the shade 509, and I'm just using a tiny pinch because this is a very pigmented blush, and I'm blending it out with that same Smith 118 brush. To finish the look, I applied Melt's lipstick in 666. Throw on that sexy little costume of yours and you're all good to go. I hope all of you have a safe and happy Halloween. See you next time, guys. Bye.